So I'm going to show you how to set up and thread a Juki MO-654DE. So your serger comes with this not attached, so it fits in the box easier. And so you take this part and you have to slide it in. There's some holes here. You slide it in there and you have to push it. You have to push really hard until it clicks. Let's see, it comes with this down. Obviously the box is not tall enough for this. So you want to pull this all the way up. It needs to be all the way extended. So ta-da! Now it comes with a plug. I have mine plugged in back there and my foot pedal's down here on the ground. So I'm going to turn this around and you just plug this in here. And it's got a little, obviously you line up the holes and the groove, and then you're ready, like it's plugged in. Okay, push it in there, good. Okay, now I keep my serger on this thread catcher because it doesn't come with one, and I have left it threaded so I know which path to follow, because when I thread my serger after the first time, like when I change the thread, I just leave it and like I tie knots and pull them through. So I'm not the very most adept at rethreading my serger because I don't rethread it from scratch every single time. First, you want to thread your serger from the middle out. That doesn't make any sense, I'm sure. Okay, so you want to start with the blue, which goes to your upper looper, and then the red, which goes to your lower looper. So you want to do your loopers first. You want to do blue, then red. Then you want to do your needle. You want to do your right needle, which is green, and then you want to do your left needle, which is yellow. So those four. So everything is color coded, which is awesome. Makes our life easy. So you take a cone of serger thread, and this one goes on the back. I do put all my cones on first before I actually start threading. So up there. So these are green here and red here. Those are color coded as well, which is awesome. Okay, so you go through this little dealy, and there's two holes. So you go through the first one into the second one, and then you wrap it around and go through only into the first one. So it needs to be wrapped around like that. We go into this little dealy. It just goes right in down to your tension knob. So you go around the tension knob. I like to pull and kind of floss it a little bit to make sure it's all the way in there, and into your blue thread guide, and then down into this thread guide. I wonder we can, let's bring it in a little closer. Okay, so we went to this one and then we go to this one. So we just put the thread in there, and then this red thread is going to get in our way, so I'm going to have to unthread that, but that's okay. Okay, so now we come to this. We've got a coil in the front and a coil in the back. The blue goes into the coil in the back, and you just kind of go in and it just slides right in. And this one, just go in that little loop-de-loop. And then there's a tiny one in here you can barely see. You want to go into there. So we're going to go up and around like so to get that one in. Now we're in our last thread guide, then we need to go into our looper, which is right here, right there, that little hole in there. That's where it needs to go. Okay, so when you get that through there, you just set the thread on the back of the machine, and then we're back to red. So we start with red, and it's kind of just the same. First hole, second hole. You want to be all the way over here. Then the second one goes in, or we go around again and it just stays in that first hole. Then we go in this thread guide and around the tension knob. I like to floss it in the red guide and then into this red guide. And let me bring it in a little closer. Okay, then we go down to this thread guide and then in this front loop-de-loop, and it goes around twice. So you go around and around. Okay, and then there's a red guide right here. So you're gonna go in this red band is just showing that you needed a red thing goes here. Okay, so you go in there. And if you need to use tweezers, that's great. That's what they're there for. Okay, so then there's a guide back in here that you can't even really see or get to, but this is super clever. You push this little white button here. Well, it's not a button. Lever. You push the lever, and then your thread guide comes out. I'm gonna bring you in closer because that's not super clear. Okay, so this is the one we just pulled out. Push this lever. Oh, that's not focusing. Push this lever, and this guide comes out. Okay, so we put the thread in the guide. This is not a one-handed job for me. I usually do it with two hands. There we go. Okay, so we got it in there. So you just have your tail here, and then you put that lever back up. Okay, then you take your thread, and it's going to go right in that hole. And then just, it'll go over through the hole, and then over right on there, and just onto the back of the machine. Okay, so now we have our thread through our lower looper, and it goes over the upper looper. Okay, so if you have it like that, then it'll help form your stitch. When these go up and down, they'll intertwine with each other. Okay, so it has to be just like that. Okay, so then next we need to do our needles. Okay, so now we're gonna do the right needle. So you just go through your two top things like we already did, and then through to the second, and then to the first hole on this guide, and then you go to your tension disc. I kind of floss that through a little bit. Then we go to this green thread guide here, and then we go up to this dot. So that's showing that you want to go under this thread guide, and then you're going to go over this one. So go under and over, and then down into this one, and then back into this little guy back here. Okay. And then just down into your needle. So I always thread my needles last. I'll show you why in a second. It's not a big deal, but that's just what I do. Okay, and then the yellow or the left needle. So 1, 2, and then tension disc. I thread that. And then this also goes under here, but then it goes up on this top one. And then down into this thread guide. And then down into this little guy. And then to your needle. Okay, and this it comes out of this one sometimes. So before I start stitching, I just kind of check that and stick it back in. Now, the reason I wait to thread my needles is because it's hard for me to thread this serger to get it in the needles with the presser foot on. So I take the presser foot off. So you just push this little button in the back here, and it just releases it. And you can lift, oh, it's back here. Sorry, I have a lot of different machines. You lift the presser foot lever up a little bit, and this will go up higher, and then you can just slide that right out. Okay, slide that out, and then thread your needles. Okay, I had to thread them off camera because I'm sitting behind the camera and I couldn't see what I was doing. But I have my needles threaded. I'm just going to pop that little guy back in that guide. Sometimes it comes out when you're stitching. I don't know how important it is, but if you notice it's unthreaded, you just pop it back in. Okay, so lift the presser foot lever in the back, get your presser foot in place, lower the presser foot lever, and then hit the button in the back until it snaps into place, and then your presser foot is on and you're ready to go. So you want to make sure all your threads go under the presser foot. So I always make sure that they are off to the side so I can see that they're all under there. And then you should be ready to start stitching. Now, the first time that you use your serger, you will want to check your tensions. These are the tensions that I've found work for this machine. Usually your needles, well, okay, so this left needle is really tight. So I actually have it at about 2 3/4, around there. And then my right needle, I've got about 3.5. My loopers, I both have a 3.5. So in theory, generally, having all your tensions approximately the same should give you a balanced stitch. But if it doesn't, then you can adjust your tensions. And you should never stitch with this open. That could be dangerous. So I had it left open so you could kind of see this area better. But I don't want to injure myself. So I'm going to not do that. Okay, so you lift the presser foot lever in the back. If you want, I mean, sergers, you can just feed it in, but whatever. I like to lift it and get it right to the blade, but anyway, okay, so you just kind of stitch and it should form your stitch correctly. And let's take a look at how we've done here. So there we go. That's actually, so you kind of can just play with it, but usually starting about a 4 and adjusting, you know, sew a sample, adjust if you need to, sew another sample. If you need to adjust that, you can. So, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how you can get your machine set up. And happy sewing. See you later.